Hey everybody, today kicks off this major brake project on this 82 DeLorean. We'll be rebuilding all the calipers as well as the master cylinder will be swapped out over here. We also have, with this job as well, an opportunity to replace our fuel sender as we're going to be opening up all these panels here in the front compartment. I'll leave all these panels open for the next project, which is the air conditioning. We got a lot of work to do. Let's get started. We'll remove our access panel for the master cylinder as well as the one that's located under the spare tire for access to the fuel sending unit. Let's crack open the reservoir and take a look at the condition of the brake fluid inside. I think it'll be okay, as Elvis and I had replaced it about a year and a half ago. And it does look pretty good. The color's good. It didn't drop too low. It has dropped a little, so it is leaking out of somewhere. We'll jump right into the sending unit job, get it out of the way as I unscrew the old sending unit, which hasn't worked right. I've tried to repair it in another video and it lasted a while, but I'm not going to keep repairing it. Sped up 20 times here. You can see I'm waiting as the fuel slowly empties from the unit. I raise it up a little more because my gas tank is full and let the fuel empty more. And then I'll pull the unit out, and I know there's still gas in there, so I'm just going to hold it up over the tank and let the remaining fuel pour out of this thing. You can see that tank is really full. And then give it a shake. And that's it, it's out of the tank. And just like magic, out with the old and in with the new. I'll use my deoxit as I always do and spray those connectors on the car. Make sure we have a good connection, probably very dirty. Then I'll plug the new unit in. Then I'm going to stand it straight up and down. Looking in the car, we see the fuel light turn on and the fuel gauge go all the way to 0. So then what I'm going to do is I'll flip it over and we can see the fuel light turn out and the gauge slowly goes up slower than it goes down, but it slowly goes up to a full tank. So I'll wait on that. And yeah, looks like it's working good. The sender comes with the new seal. I slide it on. It's keyed to only fit in one direction, so I rotate it to the key, press it in, and I drop in the sender, which again is only keyed to sit in one direction. I'll have to disconnect the connector to get the screw top on, bring it around the top here, slide it all the way down, reconnect that connector, and then just screw it down, making sure it stays in that key, and screw it on tight. We're done. It's showing almost full. I thought my fuel level was pretty high, so we'll see what happens when I'm actually on the road. But now we're going to kick off the brake project, starting with the master cylinder. I'm going to spray everything with a bolt loosening agent. I'm going to let it sit for a while, so I'm going to come back in a couple hours, spray them a couple times over. Pull that cap off, get it out of the way. I could have just disconnected the cables. I didn't think about it at the time, so I put a paper towel under it. Now I'm going to pull out this red container here, let it drain for a bit, and put that out of the way. Now drop my vacuum line in and pull up as much brake fluid as possible from this reservoir. Drop in a rag, get all this stuff out of the way. Now all I want to do is loosen all the bolts. I'm not trying to remove them, just give them a couple turns, move on to the next one. See, here's the first. The back one was accessible with a ratchet and an extension. These I managed to completely block with my arm during the loosening, as if it's my first time making a video, but you get the idea. I loosen them with a wrench. And I stuff a towel under these two lines because you know there's going to be some residual brake fluid that's going to spill right onto the frame. There's no avoiding it, but I'm going to catch what I can. So these lines are going to come out first. And then using the ratchet with the extension, remove the two bolts holding the master cylinder into the vacuum boost. there's a nut and a washer, make sure that both of them or either of them don't fall under the car. And then I pull out the other one in the same manner. This nut and washer is a bit harder to reach, so it's very easy to drop one. Take them off one at a time. So I'm giving the master cylinder several gentle raps with a rubber mallet just to loosen it off the brake boost. I'm not hitting it hard. I don't want to break anything, but now I can wiggle it and rotate it up and down and left and right to loosen it off of the brake boost, and we can see I'm rocking it off of the two studs, and with that it is removed. However, there are some cable ties holding some stuff on it, so I'm going to rotate it to the side. And I'm going to snip that cable tie off, not that red ring, but the cable tie. And now I can pull the entire unit out. Immediately, before anything else, I go to work cleaning up any of the brake fluid that has fallen onto the frame. And I'm going to dry that up with a paper towel. And once it's all dried up, I'm going to take a detergent and spray the entire area of the frame where it was exposed to brake fluid, and then re-clean that area again. There's many things wrong with this master cylinder. You would lose brakes, the pedal would go all the way to the floor, you'd have to pump it back up to get your brakes back. When I removed this, I did see fluid in the front of this unit, so the seals have lost their integrity too. This is a complete goner. To my knowledge, there is no rebuild kit for DeLorean master cylinder, you just replace it. I'm going to pull these pins to remove the reservoir. And I'm going to take a drift and knock these pins out. Now they could simply be pulled from the other side, but they are incredibly rusted. They do come out as I turn them as I pull. The reservoir pops right off their rubber seals. I could immediately see that the front one was leaking. There's a band here that shows the ratio for this, and as the ratio for the new one's the same size, I'm going to take this band off and clean it up and put it on the new one. I want to wash the reservoir first because I know it's going to take a long time to dry. This has been thoroughly cleaned. I'm going to blow it out with air, and then I'm going to leave it to air dry for a couple of days. These pins are incredibly rusted. I'm going to see if I could hit them with the wire wheel, clean them up, and then blue them. They did clean up nicely. Remember, in this work, it's supposed to be functional, not cosmetic. Here's my older can of blue that I use for these kind of jobs. I'll pour a little into another cap. Never use it out of the bottle. Apply with a Q-tip. There we go, like magic. So these are both going to be coated. Then I'll stop the reaction. I'll just drop them in some motor oil, let them soak in here. Sometime later, I'll pull them out. I'll wipe them off. And that's it, they're done. We're going to put the reservoir on the new master cylinder now. And what I want to do is just put a little bit of brake fluid on the rubber seals. I'm using some older brake fluid I have just to lubricate these seals with a Q-tip. I'm still using this ratio, so I want to put this band back on the reservoir before I put it together, so I'm able to slide it on since it's the exact same dimensions as the old one. So I'm taking my time, and there it is. The reservoir presses right onto the rubber seals. The pins go right through. They press in easy now that they're cleaned up. And now the cotter pins go through those pins. And this piece is all back together now. Clean up the brake booster area and everything looks good, so for now there's no work to be done here. I did want to take a minute to test the low fluid switch, so I left it connected. And it did not work. Of course it didn't work. That connector's nasty. I'm going to clean it up with deoxit. Try again. We'll do it without the switch first using a short. And the brake light and circuitry does work fine. So we're going to do a couple more rounds of cleaning on that connector and we'll move over to the switch, which I have now cleaned up. And we're going to do some continuity testing of this switch now. These pins also got several rounds of cleaning. We see it's open in this position. I turn it over. We got a short, so it appears to be working good. We'll try a couple more times, make sure it doesn't bind, and it's working fine. Let's put it in circuit. We put it in circuit and we'll try a couple times. And it is working exactly as it should be working now. So we're going to call this problem resolved. Hardest working tool in my garage, AMF part number 8675309. And this begins our first caliper, driver's side front. Raising that tire now to remove it. Put our jack stand in, of course. And these tires weren't off too long ago, so they should be easy to remove. Right? Not for my electric percussion. And surprisingly, not for my pneumatic percussion either. I have no idea what these would talk to. I give up. I'm going to have to drop it and use a breaker bar. I try and avoid doing this where I can. It's a good way to snap one of those studs. Obviously, I've lowered this tire back to the ground. Yeah, my pneumatic, it works now. I got it started. So back in the air, so I don't have to spend all afternoon taking this one tire off. And it's gone. I'll pull off the end of the angle drive right quick, so it's going to fall off 19 times today anyway. Make sure it's still squared. And it is. There's the cable at the end. I'll place it back on now. But we're really here for the caliper. This outer portion has my suspicions as being the dragging side of this caliper. It has a problem in my opinion. I believe a comparison to depth also confirms this. The inside is operating good, but I can't turn this with one hand. I need two hands to turn this. This is not good at all. So I'm happy I'm doing this job for a myriad of reasons, including this particular problem on this wheel. I'm spraying all the bolts. I'm about to remove with a loosening agent here. This is the oil line. And then there are two bolts that affix the caliper on to the entire assembly. The top one, and then there's a bottom one down here, which I really can't get in view of the camera. I'll work this oil line first after waiting some time and just work it back and forth so I can address it later, turning it with my fingers. I know that this electric impact is not going to take this bolt off, but what I want is percussion to loosen this bolt so I can work it from the other side without damaging anything when I remove it. So now I'm taking the hammer, choked up on the hammer, and I'm just shocking it to loosen the bolt. I'm not beating the hell out of it. You can see I'm just tapping metal to metal, and it is coming loose, and eventually it's loose enough that I'm able to just give it a couple more wraps and then loosen it by hand. I'll repeat the same exact technique and procedure on the bottom bolt. Now they'll loosen, they'll come right out. Before I pull that top bolt out all the way, I do remember I want to put down some paper towel and unscrew that oil line. I still have it connected in there. It's got to come out first. And then I can pull out that top bolt, so I'll unscrew the remaining thread, pull the bolt, and now that caliper's detached, so I just slide it right out, and it's off. And it's nasty. Put that angle drive cap back on again, and then make sure my towel is strategically situated under that oil line. I want to respin this with the brakes removed. Yeah, take a look at that. That's a big difference. There was a whole lot of resistance on them brakes. I mean, we know discs got resistance, but that thing's still spinning. We'll begin with the disassembly of the brakes with the removal of these two cotter pins. It'll allow for these pins that hold in the brake pads to be pulled out, like so. This one came out easy. It looks nasty. This did not come out easy at all. I eventually ended up grabbing some pliers to pull this one out. So that was kind of stuck. With that, all the brake pads and the shims fall right out the bottom. I'll collect them in the position for which they were installed, like this. Separate them right down the middle. Spread them out like that. This is a non-scientific test, but this piston right here will not budge at all. No pressure. But this one right here, I feel like a sponginess to it, as I would expect. And you can see some of the fluid actually coming out of that pipe right there when I do. But that back one, yeah, that back one is solid. Not good. I don't expect fluid to come out when I squeeze the back one, but it's just like a rock. I got a feeling that this caliper has been seized for quite a while. I have pre-loosened all these bolts on a large vise, so now I'm going to go and remove them. Everything is kept to its corresponding side for inspection purposes later. This side's stuck, so I'm really going to be hitting it with the full brunt of the air, and if I don't do it correctly, it's going to be a Tripsy Mercy room, so I'm covering it with my hand, and there it is. And for those at home wondering, yes, I forgot the outer seal. Here's half that outer seal, no doubt partially destroyed by me. Look at the quality of fluid in this side of the caliper. Elvis had demonstrated in another one of my videos how even with flushing, you never really purged the old oil from this side. Such is the design of these calipers. So I've drained the oil now. I just want to wipe out some of this grime here from the bottom. Take a quick look. This was the seized side, mind you. And I got the other half of that dust seal here I got to rip out yet. Still got to get that piston seal out of there. As for the piston, it is not looking good, but the jury is out until I clean it up and able to determine exactly what's going on here. This one is not seized. I'm going to use less air pressure for this. I will forget that outer dust seal though, so there's that. This piston isn't going to win any awards either. We are going to clean it up though before we pass judgment, just like the last one. This dust seal stayed mostly intact. The other one probably did too. Now I'll remove the actual piston seals. I don't expect any horror shows on these. That is to say that the brakes did work, or they were seized, but it wasn't pouring oil out of the brakes, so... I just felt like doing that. This is the locked up side. I can already see areas where plating is coming off. I haven't cleaned up any of this rust over here to see if there's any pitting under it. There probably will be. Caliper looks like moisture got into the dust seal, caused rusting on the lip over here. Gonna polish up this piston right quick with Moz, and then we're gonna have a look at it, make a determination. I've already made a determination. We'll make an official one. It's cleaned up, but there's scoring under where the rust was. There's also delamination and lots of rust over here. Caliper is partially cleaned up. I removed the heavy rust from the lip up top using a Dremel with a wire wheel attachment, and just got in there to remove some of the stubborn rust. So now I'm going to clean up this piston right quick. It's got what looks like gouges in here. Again, this one also has flaking on the plating. Those weird gouges or dots that I had mentioned earlier are still in the metal in some of those places. Not to mention all that rust on the lip. So this caliper is done. This was the one that was the seized caliper, finished off now with a Scotch-Brite pad. Cleaned up really nice. I'm happy with it. This is the other caliper in much better condition. I should be able to finish this one off simply with a Scotch-Brite pad, and it'll look as good as the other one. Sped up through the magic of film editing. And this caliper half is done. Came out nice. So I was able to save the calipers, but not the pistons. And I'm going to have to order a whole bunch of other things in order to continue this project. And that's fine. So we're just going to leave this here and continue when those parts arrive. I hope you found this video enjoyable, entertaining, and informative. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below. Helps me out a lot when you do. And hit that subscribe button for more videos like this when they come out. When the next video in this series comes out, I'll post a link here in the top right corner. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?